Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Coach Colton here at Columbus Martial Arts, but I'm not quite at Columbus Martial Arts today. Welcome to my home. We're in my home kitchen today to work on our baking live stream, giving back to our community. Thank you for taking the time out of your Sunday. I hope you're having a very relaxing weekend. We're hopefully going to have a relaxing bake-along today. Don't get frustrated as you go through the steps. If you're working with a younger student, it's all just baking. It's all just love. It's going to be a great time. We're going to make a pie or make something else and give it back to our community. We're opening up early tomorrow at 7 a.m. From 7 to 9, you're dropping off whatever we're making today, and then we're going to go out tomorrow and hand it to all of the firefighters in the area. If you're not already liked or subscribed to our channels, go ahead and do that. We have a lot of things planned this year content-wise, whether it's martial arts, leadership, personal development, physical fitness. We'll be doing a lot of content on our Facebook and YouTube pages. So as the kids say, go ahead, smash the bell and make sure that you've liked and subscribed so you can stay up to date on everything. Go ahead and pull out all of your ingredients if you haven't already. We're gonna get ready to get started. Welcome, I see everybody joining the chat. If you're not making an apple pie and you're making something different today, comment on the stream. Let me know what you guys are making at home. I'd love to know and gain some insight into whatever you're making, because if you're making what we're making an apple pie. Yesterday we made an awesome chocolate peanut butter pie that turned out great. I actually made so much extra chocolate. I'm probably going to do extra pie after the stream today with the apple pie. But we're making good old-fashioned apple pie. I've been asking my students, what type of pie should we bake? And, apple pie is just that classic American dish. It was like apple, pumpkin, pecan, kind of first, second, and third as far as things to make. So if you're making something different, let me know. We're going to make sure that everyone's on the same page as far as the ingredients that you need. So we're going to pan over to the ingredients now. I apologize. We are not in a professional studio today. We're in my own kitchen. So if the camera work isn't spot on, I apologize. We're going to make sure you guys can see everything every step of the way. So far, I see Judah in there, Amelia in there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So what do we need? We need some ingredients. So let's pan on over to our ingredients that we need. All right, so on the ingredient list, we have frozen pie crust, all-purpose flour, butter, of course, apples, brown sugar, okay? And then, of course, we have some water and stuff we're going to pull from the sink or from your fridge. So make sure you have all this stuff pulled out and ready to go. If not, we'll give you some time to do that. Equipment-wise, as we pan over here, zoop going down. I just have a cutting board. I have a chef's knife here. I have a peeler, I guess what they call this, a peeler with a little tip on it so we can use a decor. Mixing bowl, a couple of measuring cups, nothing too crazy. And then you'll need like a medium-sized saucepan, all right? So go ahead and pull out all of your materials that you'll need for prep, as well as all of your ingredients. All the ingredients list is the same that was posted on the Facebook page earlier. So first thing you want to do as you pull your ingredients out, go ahead and preheat your oven to 425. So preheat oven to 425. Not quite gonna use it yet, but it'll be there when we are ready for it. Now, when I was thinking of dishes to do, I wanted to make things pretty easy. Yesterday was probably the easiest day. So if you have a really young student, hopefully you made it yesterday as well. Maybe you're doing both days. If you're doing both days, post it in the comments as well. I mentioned to see if anyone's doubling up. But yesterday, the chocolate peanut butter pie we did, you really don't have to use the stove or oven at all. I think we're posting the recording of that. But that one, you can really just use the freezer. There's one or two times where you could use the stovetop, but you could just as easily use the microwave. For today, we are obviously going to have to bake the pie, so a little bit of oven work is to be done. The thing I love about apple pie is it can be so simplified, or you can make it really more advanced. I try to keep it near the simple side, so we're not making our own pie dough today or going anything too crazy. We will, of course, make our own filling with fresh apples, but on the easiest side, if you're working with a really young student who's maybe 3-4 years old in our early skills program, you got a frozen pie crust, you got some canned pre-made pie filling, and pretty much all you have to do is par bake the crust, put the filling in, and you're good to go. Today, we're gonna kind of go middle ground on it. So oven, preheat to 425. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take that saucepan that we got out, and we're going to add some stuff in it. So in the saucepan, we're going to add our butter and our flour. So you should have half a cup of unsalted butter, and we need our flour. We need, how much flour here? How much flour? What does it say in the recipe? 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. So let's go ahead and pan the camera down to our saucepan as we get things rocking and rolling here. Saucepan, boom, there it is. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and add a half cup of unsalted butter. If you have sticks, a half cup is 1 full stick of butter. So 1 stick of butter in, we're gonna get that just kind of on medium low, depending on how hot your burners are. Getting that to start melt doesn't take a lot to melt butter. And to that, we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Don't add it until that flour has melted. So get that, the flour is melted. The butter has melted. So get the butter melting first, then add the 3 tablespoons of flour after it has melted. Nice. Okay, so we have some people who've already made their pie cooling off. Awesome. Welcome, Miss Audrey. Good to see you in the chat there. Okay. So the benefit of that pie we made yesterday is it's a very quick process. This will ultimately have to bake for some time. The actual prep work doesn't take the full hour, so we'll have a little bit of time to chat as we go along. But just go ahead and get that butter start melting. It'll take just a second if it has not already. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome, welcome. If you're not making an apple pie and you're making something else today, feel free to comment in the chat what you're making. I know a lot of people like apple pie, but maybe you have an allergy or you want to make something else. I'm interested to see. Yesterday we had a lot of chocolate peanut butter pies. We had some Nutella cheesecake. We had an apple cobbler, some coconut pies. What else did they make yesterday? I made quite a bit of a different spread. So I'm interested. Can't wait to get like a picture of all the pies together. We're gonna have this mountain, and I'm sure the firefighters are gonna love it as we take a trip over tomorrow and give them a little token of our appreciation for all the hard work they do over there. Butter's about halfway melted. Go ahead and start adding the flour in. Again, we're adding 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Now, if you were looking at the recipe, you might have noticed that the recipe calls for a single pie crust, and it doesn't mention like any lattice work or like we didn't make our own dough. Again, this is something that's like super easy to make. I didn't want to have to do, dough making anytime you have someone try to make their own dough. It can get a little crazy. That's a bit hot. Turn it down. Don't want it to go too crazy on you. A little spoon to mix this in. But the butter and flour should kind of come together and make a paste. Just make sure there's no clumps in it. Keep stirring. It's going to look a little clumpy in the beginning, but it'll come together. Just make sure it's not too hot. Don't want anything sticking to the bottom of the pan. Should come together pretty thick. This is going to be the kind that binds all of the apples. Trying not to make a mess like I did right there. It's going to bind all the apples together. So we've got butter and flour in. You can see as I'm scraping across, it's kind of leaving a trail in the pan before it comes back together. If it closes right away on you, it's too loose. The flour's not completely in yet. You should have a brief trail as you drag your spoon up to the bottom there. Okay. After our paste is formed, we're going to go ahead and add water, the white sugar and brown sugar, and then we're going to bring it to a boil. So the amounts on that, super easy. So we have a 1/4 cup of water, a 1/2 cup of white sugar, and a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So go ahead, grab your measuring cup, 1/4 cup of water in. Quarter cup of water in, done. And we're gonna go 1/2 cup of white sugar, half cup of brown sugar. Going back to what I was talking about before, no lattice work, nothing crazy in this pie. I'm going to show you how we can still make it look super presentable and nice. You could have nothing on top, right? You could just go, rustic pie. There's no topper there. And as long as the filling is set, it'll be good. Half cup of white sugar in. Grab my brown sugar really quick. We're going to make the top look really nice. I'm going to give you two different ways that you can make that pie just look nice, It's going to taste great. That's the thing about apple pie. It's always going to taste good, right? Can't go wrong with an apple pie. But people eat with their eyes first, right? You go the extra mile if you want to make it look a little presentable. I'll show you a couple of tricks with that later as we finish this up here. So I've got the water in, got the white sugar in. Now we're going to add brown sugar in. You could change this out. If you don't like white sugar, you could go with like honey or maybe like a cane syrup or something like that. You definitely want the brown sugar though. Don't try and do this with all just normal like granulated sugar. If you have any clumps, just kind of break it down and stir it in. So now we have our mixture here. In here is the stick of butter, the 3 tablespoons of flour, 1/4 cup of water, and a 1/2 cup of both brown sugar and white sugar. If you have any clumps, just break those down. I'm just using a kind of old-fashioned wooden spoon here. Let me know in the comments if you're having any problems or need me to slow down or repeat my steps. But we have this going here. We're going to bring this up to a boil. Now, I was getting a little too hot earlier. I didn't want too much of the liquid from the butter to evaporate and not create that nice paste with the flour. So I took it off just a little bit. Now we're putting it back on. We're going to bring this up to a boil. So I have my heat set to medium. And I'm just constantly stirring so that nothing scorches on the bottom. I've recently moved not too long ago, so I'm still getting used to this oven. And this oven's burners are quite a bit hotter than my other house, which had quite an old oven. So a little worried about things scorching on bottom, but we just keep it moving. Don't have to blaze it really super high. Medium temp, have some patience. Let me know in the comments how's it coming along on everybody's end. You can hear it starting to bubble a bit. This step on the stove, if you're working with a younger student, probably more of a parent thing. Next step, when we start messing with the apples, such a great step to have the student do. But also, I've been cooking since I was 8 or 9 years old, definitely making full meals for my family by the time I'm 12 or 13. I'm not sure how many of you guys out there cook. Students, let me know. Do you guys cook often? Are you just cooking special today because Coach Colton asked you to? Or are you a bit of a chef at home? Because I love cooking so much. I think one year for Christmas, my Christmas Santa list was like, hey, give me some cookbooks, man. Give me some pans. I don't need any more Legos. I'm good on that stuff. All right, so I'm not sure if you guys could hear that bubbling, but I could hear it bubbling on the pan. Once it's come to a boil, we're just gonna set that off to the side, let it cool down a little bit. Make sure you turn that out from the oven. Don't want any issues there. Now we're going to start working with our apples. So the recipe calls for Granny Smith apples and calls for, I believe, 8 Granny Smith apples. Obviously, size can vary a bit, so maybe more, maybe less. I'm working with a standard pie crust here. I have just the super standard, regular, Pillsbury Doughboy pie crust, and we're going to use that today. I've got my Granny Smith apples. I'm going to back the camera up to my cutting board so you guys can see what we're doing here with these guys. So I have super simple plastic cutting board. I'm going to get my apples over here. These have been washed already, so no worries there. We've got 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 apples. What we're going to do is we're going to process these. I just have a mixing bowl. We're not really going to need to mix these in anything, but I just have the mixing bowl here so that when I'm done cutting them up, I can store them in here and I'll have apples flying everywhere. So don't worry, it doesn't have to be like, we're not going to heat it up or anything. Just grab a bowl, something you can put the apples in when you're done. Now, piece of equipment I'm using here is a peeler. You can totally do this with a knife as well. It's just going to take a little bit longer. This is the most time-consuming part of the recipe, I think anyways. If you have a peeler, that's like great, especially if you are wanting a younger student to do this, because it's not really sharp on the sides. It does have a bit of a point when it has the core, because you're going to stick that into the apple and take the core out. Really, the only part that could possibly nick them is on the inside, and it's rather protected. So if you're a parent and you feel comfortable, having your student do this, I would definitely use this tool. You could do this with a chef's knife as well if you don't have a peeler. And we'll do some both ways so you can kind of see how to go. I'm going to peel the apples first and then decore them. I don't recommend taking the core out first. I feel like the core just gives the apple more stability so that when you're peeling it, it doesn't fall apart. You don't accidentally crush it. If you're nervous and you're really squeezing the apple hard and it's missing the core, you could crush it. And while it won't be important for the filling, it's still going to taste great. Just be careful because apple might fly everywhere, and when you fall on the floor, okay, you're gonna wash it off, or you're gonna reuse it. No, probably gonna throw it away, and then you need another apple, right? So just my thoughts on it. So let's go ahead and take the skin off first. I'll show the peeler first. So peeler, super simple. Apple, don't try and do it while it's in the air. You could. I recommend that you set it on a surface, especially if you're not used to doing it. And the first part is going to be the toughest. You just want to take it and kind of scrape along the side. And it might take a little bit of the apple off. I can see this is now a little bit flatter than it was. So you're going to lose a little bit of fruit there, but it's very easy. It's going to keep kind of almost like you're shaving. You're just going to take that skin off. Once you know what you're doing, you can begin to roll it and take it off the cutting board. But I've only ever cut myself with a peeler once that I can remember. And the reason I accidentally nicked myself is I didn't have it on a great surface. So what I normally do, I kind of go around, keep rotating it until the top part is off, because there's still quite a bit left. So then you're going to flip it over and then repeat. And that's going to get all of the skin of the apple off. Very easy, very fast. I'm sure there are more technical ways of doing it, but this is how I do it. Super simple. Just keep going around. Once you've got all of the skin off, show you how we clean up the top and the bottom here. Now, obviously, a little apple skin is not going to kill anyone, but in a nice baked thing like a pie, just getting that little bit of skin in there is just kind of not great. So all the skin of the apple off on the sides. Now we're going to just lay it on the side and run it across the top and the bottom to remove this last bit of skins from there. Okay, and then we have what is pretty much, go back and check if you missed any spots there, give it a good once over, have what is pretty much a completely peeled apple. And it took me maybe a minute, maybe two. Once I have the apple fully peeled, what I'll then do is I'll decore it. So with the core, that's why I have that point on the end, is you're just going to, again, strong surface, insert down, and then just shimmy it up and down around that core. And the core should come out pretty easy. There's not a blade on it, so you're not going to be able to stab and work it around unless yours does. Mine doesn't. It just has to tip on the end because you got to have the stab and come out each time. And once you've done that, it's going to push with your thumb. If it's not given, just go back in wherever it's still attached. Make sure it's fully separated. Where it comes to a tip at the bottom, it may still be connected on the other side. Then you just push through, and look, it pops right out. So as you push with your thumb, out goes the core. You can throw that right into the bin, or if you have another bowl on the side,
And we've got our first cleared apple. So we're going to go ahead and put that off to the side, and we're going to repeat. And this is a great time for me to check in with you guys. Good to see you, Callum. Welcome, welcome. How's everybody else going? How many guys are using a peeler? How many guys are trying it with a knife? I'll do the next one with a knife so you guys can see. Same process, exactly, just a little bit slower. Probably do it just as fast, but you want to take a little bit slower with a knife just for safety. No apple pie is worth getting cut over. I do have the chat open here, so if you guys have a question or a comment, let me know how it's going in the chat. Perfect. Nice. Not quite. There's just still attached that. That's close. Oh, I feel it. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. Only thing you don't want that the core is just not good to eat. It's not going to make a good pie. And of course, any seeds in there, not going to be great. Having a great time? Nice. Nice. Glad Miss Amelia is doing well. Okay. Jacob's using the peeler for the first time. Amazing. As I said, Jacob, the lights are bright. Jason, I have this bright light in my eyes. Okay. So chef knife time. If you don't have a peeler, you can absolutely use a chef's knife. You're going to lose a little bit more of the fruit. So maybe you want to use 9 apples instead of 8, depending on the size of your apple. And you need to be careful. So an extra piece of equipment, if you really want to be careful, is a nice clean rag that you can hold and brace with so you protect your hand. Like you're not going to skewer your hand or anything like that. But usually like the danger is in nicking yourself, right? It's a small cut. So by having that, that rag in between your skin and the fruit, once you feel the knife go past the fruit and go into the rag, okay, that's when you would have cut yourself, but now the rag is there as that protection. So if you feel like you need it, have that rag in your offhand and control the apple with your rag. Okay, I'm not going to use the rag just because it takes up some of the camera there and you can't see what I'm doing. So my rag's going to be off to the side, but if you need it, hold it in that offhand. Cherry cupcakes with cream cheese frosting. Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds good indeed. Okay, so much like the peeler, I'm just going to take the knife, holding it. I like to, and this is, I think it's a 6-inch chef knife. I have it pinched here, and I'm right near the top. I have my thumb on one side, index finger on the other side, other hand just grabs. It's here, chopping motion. I'm gonna hold. When I hold, I'm really focusing more on the hand I'm holding with than on the knife. The knife, I'm gonna kind of set it, and I just kind of repeat the motion, and I'm really focusing on the hand that's holding it. That way, I'm watching those fingers, making sure that they're not in position to get cut, and I'm managing my cut. This is kind of just like a machine, right? It's just going to go on autopilot and start chopping away. This is the hand that really does. So like a guitar, this would be like your picking hand. It's going kind of, you don't go completely autopilot on it, but it's not as important as the fretting hand, right? So we're here, and we're just going to start taking off the sides of the fruit. Try to take as little of it off as possible. We really just want that skin. So again, kind of follow the apple. Once I get back to where I started, then I flip it upside down, work on the other hemisphere, so to speak. Goes a globe. You're also going to want a pretty sharp knife for this because the peel is kind of waxy. And if you have a dull knife is actually going to increase the chances of you guys getting hurt rather than a sharp knife, because that dull knife is going to bounce around a lot more. So, you know, everyone may not feel comfortable having their kid handle a knife. I absolutely understand. Your students below the age of 8 or 9, I definitely would not recommend it. And then even then, you know, I have students, I'm not even sure if you could use age as a factor, because the maturity sometimes is independent of age. So you guys know your students best. I trust you guys. So I went around, chop, 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 took off the northern hemisphere, flip it, chop, 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 southern hemisphere. When you flip it, and I did 2 chops on either side, kind of like we did with the peeler. Now I have the fully peeled apple with the core in. The trickiest part with the knife is you just go Hulk smash with it. Not really. You want to make sure the edge of your knife is pointing away from your body, and you're going to close to the core and start to make small incisions. The chef's knife, the blade is quite wide. So if we just go ham on it, it's going to be hard. And actually, you know what? We're going to do it even easier. If you're using a knife, don't worry about coring these. Just go ahead and chop all the flesh off the core and save yourself that step. So go ahead, have the apple straight up. I'm just going to chop straight down. Straight down. Because we're going to wind up chopping these anyways. There's no actual reason that you need to decore them with a knife. That's just too much work. Make it easier. Work smarter, not harder. Boom. Done. We're going to have chunks, okay? Boom. Only one that you'll want to do is don't do that with all of your apples right away. We're going to need to save 1 to 2 apples that we're going to treat a little differently. And that's going to be for the top of the pie, since we're not doing necessarily any lattice work. I did notice at the grocery store that if you bought like a pie crust like this, they do often, all the brands I saw package 2 in a standard pack. If you're not going to make a second pie, you could use that second pie shell as a lattice. So maybe we'll take a look at that too. But I'm going to do one more with the knife, and then we'll speed this along a bit and go back to the peeler. But we need 8 apples total, just standard size apples. And we're going to process 6 of them at least, if not 7, depending on the size. I'd probably say like the biggest one. You treat that one a little different. And what we're going to do is we're going to do nice little slivers. I'm not sure if you guys seen on social media. It's been a couple of years now, but one thing that was really popular for a while there were those like apple rose pies, right? Look very fancy and look very like elegant, and they don't have any lattice work on top. And really you do that just with, you know, thinly sliced apple. It's nothing too crazy to get that color and that kind of shape. So once you have your apple fully peeled, again, you chop off top and bottom. Get rid of that peel too. Okay, one more. There we go. That's good. I'm just going to stand it up. Stop making some chops around the core. Oh, cut into the core a little bit too close. There we go. Get some extra off of that. There we go. Core is done. Processed apple in the bucket. You know what? I think I can do it faster with a knife if we're just chopping. Okay, that's a bit too much. Try not to lose too much of the peel there. So I see some students making some things other than apple pie today. Like with Miss Caitlin making the cupcakes. Has she made those cupcakes before, or this is her first time? She accomplished baker, or she's just not a fan of apples? I'm interested. Apple pie is not for everybody. I think yesterday I had a lot of Nutella cheesecakes and stuff because we were making a chocolate peanut butter pie. I think a lot of students had a peanut allergy. So they're kind of just going a different route, but pretty adjacent with like the chocolate and stuff, you know. But cherry cupcakes and things sound quite good too. Oh, there we go, Mr. Knife. That'll work with me here. Good. Not one of my best ones, but it'll work. Go top and bottom. Top and bottom off. And we're just going to cut around that core. Perfect. If you use the peeler and you're waiting on me because I'm going super slow, you can go ahead and take all but 2 of your apples and just cut them into chunks for the apple filling. That's what's going to happen with most of them anyways, except for the ones we're using for the top of the pie. I'm going to start working ahead because that's not going to take me too long. Awesome. I agree. It is fun. Some of my youngest memories, my dad was the reason that I really got into cooking when I was young. I think it's a great skill for everyone to have because, sooner or later, mom and dad aren't going to be there, right? You're going to go to college, you're going to start a job, move off on your own. And, who's cooking? You're definitely not eating out every day. That's expensive and honestly not super healthy, so who's cooking? And if you want to go beyond Kraft mac and cheese and instant noodles, it helps to have some practice growing up. So I have a lot of memories of bonding with my family in the kitchen and really getting a lot of skills there. The worst part of cooking is always to clean up right. And I hate starting to eat without having the kitchen clean. So I'll cook and I'll clean before I eat. And sometimes, the food's not hot anymore. I'll have to reheat it. But, when you're working with a family, somebody can clean while the other one cooks. You're cleaning while you're cooking. And that's like the black belt of cooking, right? If you can clean while you cook and you don't have to come back and cook later or clean later rather, you're going to really, when that food coma hits, be able to take a nap or just enjoy yourselves, having a movie night or doing whatever you're doing with your family and friends. So try and, as you do it, clean while you cook. It's all about that and the prep work. If you have your tools out and your ingredients already laid out and you don't have to go and rummage through stuff while you're doing it, it will save you a lot, right? Talk to my leadership about the same thing when we're planning an event or we are teaching a class. It's all about the prep, If the punching bags aren't set up, if the gloves aren't out, if the dots aren't there, and you're taking time away from the class to set that stuff up, you're going to there's too much downtime. There's not effectiveness. So go ahead, clean up while you cook, save yourself that extra time. Be efficient. We have the last apple here now, processing it, and then we'll go on to the next step. This is the longest step. So if you're thinking, oh man, Coach Colton, this is taking a long time, don't worry. This is the longest step. All right. Try not to lose too much of the fruit there with the chef's knife. Sometimes a little bit of a challenge. There we go. Top, bottom, and chunks. Done. Okay. Apples processed. What I'm going to do really quick here is just get rid of these apple skins, put them in the compost or in the trash, wherever you have. Same thing with the cores. Won't need those either. So we're just left with those beautiful chunks of apple. Now here's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to do a second bowl here. I've got the 2 nice apples that I did the core in the beginning. I'm going to save those. Those are going to be my topper apples. But all these other chunks, like this is a pretty big chunk, I want to make sure, they're just small enough to where if I threw them into a pie, you would be able to cut a nice piece. And they're going to get nice and soft as they get baked down. But still, I don't want any chunks of apple that are too big. So if you went really fast and have a lot of big chunks of apple like me, just take a moment, and get those a little more finely cut down. I'd say like 1/4 inch pieces, 1/2 inch, somewhere between 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch chunks would be just fine. That'll do you. And this won't take but a second. It's not a science. Go to science, we'll be doing a cake today instead of a pie, right? I am not an expert baker by any means. That's my sister. She is baking queen. I love to cook, but baking was always her forte. So just, rough chop, get it in. Let's see. Aaron is making a chocolate cream pie. Ooh, it tastes good. I'm a chocolate lover. That's why I did that chocolate peanut butter pie yesterday. It's a favorite. If you're a Reese's lover. Growing up, I always said Reese's, but then people started saying Reese's. Right? Is it Reese's or Reese's? Comment down below. Also, I'm not sure how you would comment that down below because you like phonetics. Spell out in the comments how do you say Reese's? Is it Reese's or Reese's? Like, I don't know. In my mind, it's Reese's. And then you have Reese's Pieces. But I've even heard somebody say Reese's Pieces. I'm like, okay, that's just, what is that even? Where are we teaching? Awesome. Maybe it's like a area thing. Is it like a southern versus northern thing? I don't know. Like a soda pop and like a soda and a pop thing? I don't know. Let's see. I say it one way for the candy and one way for the cup. Interesting. Interesting. Do they advertise it that way? For bonus points, write me, students, if you're watching, write me a 500-word essay on Reese's versus Reese's. Write me an argumentative paper. I'll give you an extra gold star this month. Okay. Almost done here. If you're painstakingly cutting these like to perfection, you don't have to. I'd rather you spend more time on the ones that we're going to use for the topper, because that's the one that you're going to see if you're not putting a lattice down. And that's how we're going to make it look nice. Okay, so I've gotten all of the chunks that I made processed, and I'm left with these 2 whole apples that I cored. I'm going to split these north to south and bottom so that now I have 2 halves of apple. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make thin slices going lengthways. So you have something like this. Here you go. Like a thin apple slice that looks something like that. Pull that back so you can see it. Lights are very bright. But ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to overlap and shingle these, and we're going to make kind of a flower effect. They don't have to be razor thin. Don't have to see yourself through them. But keep in mind, the thinner they are, the more each half apple will produce. And it's not an area thing. That's a surface thing, like I guess it is area, right? I guess it's a surface area thing, not a perimeter thing. Not a volume thing. There we go. Not a volume thing. It's a surface thing. So we don't care if the chunks are really thin. We just need them to look uniform and nice so we can spread them out and lay them out against the top of the pie. Now, as you come to the end, the last little bit's always the toughest. So kind of like chopping an onion as well. You chop, chop, chop. That last little fifth is kind of tough to do. You can get a little bit more out of it if you just flip it onto the side that you were just cutting and then go from there, I find. And if you flip it, then you should be able to finish nice. But if not, the balance of the remaining fruit gets a little off, and it's just hard to do the slices all the way across without nicking your finger or your thumb. So once you get about 2/3, 3/4 the way you flip the part that you were. So I was cutting this way, boom, 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 boom. Once I get to here and I can't go anymore, I just flip it, and then I keep cutting. Perfect. Last half here. Didn't take before, but obviously half flat side down. You're trying to cut it flat side up, and it's rolling around on you. Again, it's a little bit easier to cut yourself. Turn it. Continue chopping. Apologize if that chopping sound is a little annoying, like a hammer. But we're done chopping, so all done. Whew. No more knife work. All right. So once you have everything processed, you've got your chunks, you've got your toppers, then we're going to get your pie crust out of the packaging. If you have not done so already. Okay. Okay. So I have my pie crust here, just took it out of the packaging, haven't cooked it or done anything special to it. What we're going to do is we are going to fill the pie crust now with the apple chunks. So you should have, 5 or 6 apples, chunked. We're just going to pour that in. Depending on the size of your apple, you may need a little bit more, may need a little less, but we're just looking to fill the pie all the way through. And the pie is not going to lay flush against the top. It will be a little over full. That's okay. That's what we want for this. Okay. Just make sure if you see any of your chunks sticking together, you can kind of work them apart with your fingers. Boom. So put this back into camera view so you guys can see. All I did was pour my chunks into the pie. Once the chunks are in, what we're going to do is we're going to take the mixture that we had made in the beginning. This is the butter and flour and water. We need to give it a little bit of a stir because it's already setting up. All right. And we're just going to pour that over the chunks. Be careful that you have good aim. It's going to ricochet off of some of the chunks there. Don't let it get on the countertop like me. Okay. Coach Colton. Giving a good example of what not to do. Good. Just make sure spread the love around. Everything's coated nice and thoroughly. And as it bakes, it'll get a little loose and then a little thick again as the flour activates. If it's not perfectly done, I'm sure it'll set into all the nooks and crannies. Now, for finishing this, you have 2 options. You could do it just like that. Taste a little bit of the filling, make sure, it's not poisoned. Oh, that tastes phenomenal already. Okay, don't worry, countertop's clean. So I have the pie here. You could finish it just like that. Like that is a rustic pie. If you cut into that, no one's gonna be upset. But if you want to make it look a little nicer, I'll give you 2 options. If your pie, I'm going to do both with you. Just going to explain really quick. Option A, the thin slices. We're going to shingle them across and make that nice kind of decorative pattern. But if you bought the pie shell, most times they include a second pie shell just in case you mess up, or maybe they know that you're going to love pie so much you're going to make 2. If you're not making 2 and you did have the extra one, you could take a knife to this and cut the bottom out, get rid of the edges, and then slice the extra pie saw and make a lattice out of the second pie shell already done. So we're going to do both. because we're extra like that, right? That's the kids say. I'm going to take this first and then just start laying it down, pointed from the edge, and just kind of lay it down nice. It does not matter that this, it actually kind of does matter. It matters that you could pour the mixture on top of this, I guess, but I don't think it comes out looking the same. So if you did this and then poured the mixture on top, it's going to taste just fine, but it's not going to absorb, right? So if you're shingling and you're trying to pour that mixture over, it's going to kind of probably do what mine did and just run off the side, unless you like leave a little like volcano, which depending on how many, I don't think I did these apple slices, we might, you pour it in the middle. You can do that too, but you can do the topper before or after you put the mixture in, up to you. For me, I like doing it before, just because if that paste is really thick and I pour it on top, I don't want any of like the topper to move, especially after I worked hard on making it look nice. So, you notice I'm just following the same pattern, right? I have the rounded side all pointing one way and I'm just going around clockwise, overlapping a little bit, packing it in, making sure that it looks nice. Again, this is totally extra. If you threw yours in the oven already, I would not be mad at you at all. It's still going to taste absolutely delicious. We're going to keep going. Now, the really nice ones, they're like full flower. They actually start from the inside and work their way out, so it looks like a rose. But that's a lot longer and really annoying. So what I like to do, once I have move the camera in rather than moving the pie, now that's full of filling. Now that I have this where it's all the way around and I have this kind of volcano, I'll take the other pieces and just lay it on top. Again, just following the pattern. It's not going to look quite as nice compared to if you did it the right way and started in the middle, but especially like if you're clumsy like me, then you'll save yourself a lot of headache. Because if it falls midway through, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to want to go back and reshingle the roof. And it's a Sunday, man. We're just having some fun, doing some relaxing baking. So we can continue that on. Boom, boom, boom. Just making sure that the ends come together nicely. And it's going to release some moisture and cook those sugars. So even this top part should get a little sticky. Just be careful as you first put it in. And then that last little bit, so you have like the whole volcano done. You have that very center little hole. I just pluck a little feather in the cap, a little apple piece sticking up. So that's that. Actually, that's so mounted. I'm not even sure if I can get lattice on top of it, but we're going to try. So I'm going to set that off to the side. Just going to slide that over very carefully here. Going to get over. You can definitely stop there. If you were not going that route and you're going the lattice route, I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we're going to throw this thing in the oven. So we're going to got some nice apples to munch on. I'm going to throw that. I put the apples before. I'll eat that off camera. We're going to just do the cuts right on here. So have the apple pie crust, the extra one. I'm just going to run my knife along the perimeter of the shell. And this one's been out a little bit, so it's not frozen anymore. Might be a little sticky. If you're having a hard time manipulating it, throw it back in the fridge or in the freezer and let it set up on you a bit more. We've been cooking for a while now, so it's going to be out. So I trimmed the inside, just ran my knife where the wall meets the bottom of the pan. So now it's going to be like a donut of pie dough that I'm taking off the top. And that should all separate nicely for me. You see it does, super easy. I'm going to put that in the bin. Well, maybe I'll make a little mini apple pie with all my trimmings. Kind of like the McDonald's apple pie, one of those almost empanada like hand pies. Maybe I'll do that with my trimmings because I have some extra little bits of apple here too. Now what I'm going to do, actually, I was thinking about taking this out. I think I'm going to cut it while it's still in the pie tin. So you could just cut some vents and lay that on top. I'm going to do, like, I feel like you always see the cross work of the apple pie, the cross-hatched lattice. So I'm gonna run my knife across, just trying to make some parallel lines, somewhat parallel. It should be super easy to cut through, especially if it's room temp. The difficult part will be getting it out of the pan. Hopefully it's not too loose and not too sticky. Oh no, that's perfect. Okay, so once I have the lattice work, I'm gonna take off the 2 edge pieces. I'm gonna start getting these nice long strands here, and I'm gonna start laying them crossways across our pie. Some of them might break a little bit on you, but that's okay. Go 1 lengthways and then 1 widthways. Good. As you're moving across, just be nice and gentle with it so that it doesn't tear on you, okay? The butter is going to make it a little bit stretchy, but it's not like a melty cheese kind of a thing. It will rip on you if you tug on it too hard or too fast. So let's go 1 more here. I'm going to patch that right there. All right. Maybe yeah. Okay. So not the most beautiful lattice in the work. Even mine tore on me 2 times, but it's better than nothing, you know? Going the extra mile by doing this, and I appreciate that. I'm gonna get the cutting board out of the way so I can bring this into the front of the camera one more time. So we have our nice rosy apple pie with that cross-hatched lattice. We're gonna throw it in the oven now. Directions say to throw it in a 425 oven for 15 minutes, and then we're gonna drop the temp to 350 for 35 to 45 minutes. So around that 30-minute mark, I'd start checking it. Depending on the thickness of your pie and stuff like that, it's gonna change a little bit. So we have it set to 425. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in and set a timer for 15 minutes. And obviously we're not gonna sit here and watch the stove. That's like watching paint dry. We're nearly at the time. Thank you for sticking with me. If you joined a little bit late, if you haven't already, as the kids say, smash the bell and subscribe to our channels, we're releasing a lot of content. Some of it's parenting content, some of it's coaching content, life content, martial arts related stuff on here. I just recently released a couple of videos on the history of martial arts belts, where martial arts belts come from, and also on red flags you should look out for when looking for new martial arts academies, right? So we service a lot of military families, and usually when they're getting ready to PCS, getting ready to leave, they always ask me, Coach Colton, do you know I'm going to such and such, going to Texas, North Carolina, Alaska, wherever, you know, the Army sends you some crazy places. Do you know of any schools here that we could go to after we move? And I say, yeah, absolutely. Let me do some research. But some places I don't know the schools, and it's just nice to know kind of what to look for. If you're not a martial artist yourself, you could be led astray. So go watch those videos too if you're interested in that stuff. But in the oven, 15 minutes at 425. Don't forget, it's not going the full time at 425. 15 minutes from now, we're going to drop the heat to 350 and then go 35 to 45 minutes. So if you can't remember, 350, 35. 350 for 35. It's 3535. Thank you guys for watching. Let's see in the comments. I'm making one for the family. Amazing. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hopefully that was not too painstakingly difficult. If you're working with a younger student, hopefully you didn't get frustrated with them. Work with them, help them develop those skills of cooking. It's all about, giving back to the community and sharing that love and having that bonding time with your family. And the whole reason I did this is I was thinking of ways to give back to the community, because this Words Month is community. And I was like, man, 3 and 4, 5, 6-year-olds, they can't go and help out in a soup kitchen. And my older students can. They can help clean up the park or something like that. But it's going to be tough for families to drive there. And I was like thinking, what can we do as an academy, students of all ages, that everyone can do
And I thought to myself, man, everyone can spend an hour in the comfort of their own home, spending time with their family and just baking something really easy. So hopefully this is fun for you guys and not a super big headache. Thank you guys for participating. The instructions for turning everything in is on the app, as far as making a picture of your student working on it, a picture with the finished product and presenting it. And also for turning it in, we're opening up early tomorrow at 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. the doors will open. We're taking in pies from 7 to 9. If you're a little late, that's okay, but we may not be here. Our goal rather is to get on the road at 9 o'clock and start delivering pies to all the different fire stations. We're not gonna just bless one fire station with 1 million pies. We're gonna spread the love and start giving out pies through a lot of different fire stations. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any comments, leave them down below. I'll be here as I wait for my pie to finish, but I'm gonna start the cleanup process so I can enjoy and start making my second chocolate peanut butter pie and hopefully enjoy that a little bit later today and not get stuck cleaning into the wee hours of the night. Have an amazing rest of your day. See you on the mats very soon. Thank you so much for joining. Bye, everybody. Sorry, missed the 15 times attempts. 15 minutes, 425, 35 minutes, 350. Start checking it around the 30-minute mark. Get that golden crust. I'll post it in the chat as well. Bye.